Take the title? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. Tell me when.
Oh, shit. You're live on YouTube.
Wow. Wow. And here we are. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. So you never know what's going to happen when you do a live. The dog could bark, the baby could cry, the neighbor could knock on the door, the census taker could come. You never know what's going to happen. So I'm just happy to be here, happy to share with you whatever pearls I have, and hope that you can take them and put them to work. You're in a podcast, Ask Dr. Love. And the purpose of the podcast is for you to ask questions about Asian medicine, acupuncture, herbal medicine, nutrition, herbs, and your health. So welcome to Ask Dr. Love. Now, if you're live on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, then you can just put in your comment or your question right where you are. The podcast is heard daily on iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, and Radio Play. So register for your favorite podcast. If we're not on your podcast, send us a comment and we'll add that platform to our podcast submission. So thank you all for tuning in. One of the things that affects your health is smoking. 25% of Americans smoke a pack a day. So let's say there's 300 million people. That's 75 million people that smoke. That's a lot of people. Now, 90,000 die each year from lung cancer. So let's play the numbers game. 10% of 75 million is 750,000. 10% of 750,000 is 75,000. 10% of 750,000 is 75,000. So 1% of 75 million is 75,000. And 90,000 people die every year from lung cancer. 1% of the smokers die. So let's kick that around for a second. Let's chew that up. So smoking is the biggest contributor to lung cancer. Number 2 contributor is lack of exercise. And number 3 is high fat, high sugar diet. So diet, exercise, smoking. What else does that combination cause? Well, it also causes heart disease. So the same 3 causes of lung cancer are the same 3 causes of heart disease. Now, every week, every day, this is our 32nd episode. Woohoo! So this is our 32nd podcast. We've been talking about sugar and fat and diet for a long time. This is the first time we're actually talking about smoking as a contributing factor to heart disease, cancer, and diabetes as well. So let's chew this up. Smoking does what to your lungs? Smoking does what to your bloodstream? And smoking does what to your heart? So air is 79% nitrogen, 20% oxygen, and 1% inert gas. So when you're taking in smoke, what are you doing to the oxygen? So one cigarette robs 60% of the oxygen that you need for tissue repair and oxygenation of your entire body. One cigarette knocks out 60% for 6 or 7 hours. And if you're smoking 20 cigarettes a day, you're totally depleting your body's ability to repair itself and provide nutritive benefits from the air. Now, if your brain is deprived of oxygen for more than 4 minutes, you will die. And yet, you think it's cool to smoke because your favorite characters in TV shows and movies smoke. You think that's cool. So, I don't know what your religion is. I don't care what you believe in. But whatever you do believe, if you think there is a God, if you think there's some higher being, and you destroy your own vehicle, wow, there's a huge contradiction in what your professed beliefs are if you're smoking and destroying your own vehicle. You can go 40 days without food. You can go 14 days without water, but you can only go 4 minutes without air. So what in heaven's name are you doing by depriving your body of oxygen? That's just crazy. It's literally insane. So what can we do to offset the negative effects of smoking and secondhand smoke and air pollution and indoor air pollution? Vitamin C. Now, don't tell me that you believe this whole controversy about vitamin C. Vitamin C is documented as the only way to prevent damage to your macrophages from cigarette smoke. So think about that for a second. Vitamin C is documented to protect your macrophages from damage from tobacco smoke. Now, I'm not going to go in and attack the cigarette industry. That's a total waste of time. They made movies about it. They've written books about it. There's campaigns against it. There's lawsuits. So why bother blaming? It's a personal choice if you want to put poison in your body. There's 599 additives to tobacco that you smoke. So we're not going to name brands and we're not going to name companies and holding companies. That's a waste of time. When are you going to quit smoking? When are you going to stop supporting the people around you, the people that you care, to quit smoking? My favorite aunt would try to send me to the store to buy her cigarettes. And I said, I love you dearly, but I'm not going to support your habit. I am not going to the store to buy you a pack of cigarettes. I'm just not doing it. So you have to think about who you care about, who's in your circle, and what you can do to support them in quitting smoking. Because if they don't love themselves, how can they say that they love you? That's just crazy. So how can you stop smoking? Well, number one is breathing exercises. Now, what in heaven's name are breathing exercises? I know how to breathe. I can walk down the steps. I can run up the steps. What do I need breathing exercise for? You're crazy, Dr. Love, with the breathing exercises. Okay. Inhaling expands the lungs and pushes the oxygenated blood out. Exhaling allows the deoxygenated to come back into the lungs to get oxygen. So there's muscles involved. There's the diaphragm muscle, which is the exhale. But then there's intercostal muscles that literally expand the ribs to allow the lungs to expand. So you have to train the intercostal muscles. You have to train the diaphragm. You literally have to train just like you were running for track or football or then there's bicycling or what have you. You've got to do that. There's no way around it. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we start with the exhale twice as long as the inhale. So that means if you're going to inhale on 5, you're going to exhale on 10. That's going to strengthen your diaphragm. And as you inhale, you strengthen the intercostal muscles. That's one exercise. Another exercise is called the breath of fire. That's where you breathe in and out of your nose as fast as possible. I just did that 60 times. And I don't expect you to do more than that the first time. Tomorrow, I want you to do it 90 times. The next day, I want you to do it 120 times. And the next day, 150. And the next day, 180. And each day, I want you to take it up 30 more breaths until you get to 600. You never have to go past 600 breaths. Why is this important? Because it is the diaphragm that pushes the air out of the lungs. Now, your lungs go from the bottom of the rib to the top of the ribs. Your lungs are completely protected by the 12 thoracic vertebrae. You breathe off the top third of the lungs. You don't get full deep inhale to get down to the bottom of the lungs. That is what the problem. And you don't get full deep exhale to get to the bottom of the lungs. And that is why we do the diaphragmatic breathing, because we want to get that stale air off the bottom and out. You want to get that out. And that's why we run. And that's why we jump rope. And that's why we bicycle. And that's why we run up and down the steps, to get the dirty air out of your lungs. Now, there's something inside your lungs called macrophages. They look like Ms. Pac-Man. They eat the dirt. And what if you keep putting the dirt in? How can you possibly clean your lungs? There's an exhibit that's been going around for at least 5 years called the Body Exhibit. And in this exhibit, there is a picture. There's the actual lungs of a smoker for 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years. And you can see from brown to gray to black, you can see the gradations of the smoking, of the effect on how it deteriorates your lungs. So you got to do something about that. You really have to think about what you're doing, and your clothes in your closet, and your car, and your animals, and the people who live with you or are around you or spend time with you. What does that do to their lungs and their blood and their oxygen in their brains? What are you doing smoking? That's just crazy. What are you doing? So you've got to do these 2 breathing exercises to start. Now, many, many, many years ago, I wrote a book called Florida Freedom: The Way to Get Fresh Air into Your Lungs. That ebook is still available, and it has all the details of what I'm talking about right now, if you are so inclined to find out the details of how to clean your lungs. The second thing we can do is something called Stop Smoking Tea. And before I go any further, I want to invite you to ask your questions about cigarettes, about marijuana, about cigars, about tobacco, anything you want to know about tobacco, smoking, non-tobacco products like cabbage and ginseng or what have you. Coltsfoot, comment. In the comment section, you can ask your question, Facebook, IG, or YouTube. So I'm inviting you to ask me questions now. So when I finish explaining how you can quit smoking, we'll already be there. Okay, now this is called Westlake tea. My Qigong master is the one who came up with this formula for Westlake tea. And when he was put in prison, the Chinese government took this formula and sold it. And when he got out and came to the United States, and I found this product and I brought it to him, and he's like, this is my formula. I created this formula. And the Westlake tea, which is based on the green tea of Tianmu Mountains of Hangzhou. And I spent a week in Hangzhou at the Chinese medicine spa. I was one of 12 Americans, acupuncturists, who were invited to China to the first ever Chinese medicine spa in Hangzhou. So green tea, sacred lotus seed, Asian ginseng, and Chinese asparagus root. That's what's in this tea. Now, when you get this tea, it makes cigarettes taste terrible. You will not enjoy the cigarettes. And it's only a 7-day supply. It's only a 7-day supply. So you should be able to quit smoking in a week, including the ear magnets, which I showed you yesterday. And we have a rod and a disc, which we put in. So we'll post a picture of the magnets in the comments. So we use a combination of magnets and the tea to quit smoking. Now, we discovered that bicarbonate of soda, thank you. We discovered that bicarbonate of soda, if you capsule it and you take 2 capsules a day, one in the morning, one in the evening, it prevents the withdrawal symptoms. So we've got the tea, we've got the breathing exercises, we've got vitamin C powder, capsules, tablets. You've got to get the vitamin C in. And then we add sodium bicarbonate, which is manufactured by Arm & Hammer. You should already know this. Now, we have magnets. And this is a magnet card. And so it sticks to the magnet card. And it comes in a kit. It comes with 4 pairs of magnets with different sizes because some people have big ears, some people have small ears. So we can put the magnet on. So we have the rod, and we put the other magnet behind. And I don't know if you can see that, but so we've got YouTube videos on ear acumagnets. There's at least 2, maybe 3 different videos on ear acumagnets. You can check that out later. So we've got 4 different ways: the breathing, the ear magnets, the vitamin C, the stop smoking tea, and bicarbonate of soda. All those things will help you quit smoking. Now, there's 2 other methods because I don't leave anything to chance. I fail safe everything. When I tell you you can quit smoking in 8 days, I am convinced that you can quit smoking in just 8 days. Now, nicotine is the drug in tobacco. What we discovered is if the nicotine drains out of the brain really, really slowly, you don't crave it. But digestion pulls nicotine out of the brain quickly, which is why you crave a cigarette right after you eat. And that's why people eat and then want to smoke, because the act of digestion pulls the nicotine out of the brain. So, what do we do about that? How can we avoid the smoking after eating? Well, we have a 3-day detox program where the nicotine drains out of your brain so slowly that you don't have that craving to replace it. And that's a special 3-day detox, which includes water, lemon juice, and cayenne pepper, and 2 other Chinese herbs. And that's something I only make up when people order it. It's not something I put on the shelf. It's not over the counter. Even if I told you the name of it, you couldn't buy it. So I only make this up for my patients. But today, I'm opening it up to anybody who's listening to the podcast. So, what is your incentive? You've got to go to loveqigong.com and register for the online class, because that is where I'm going to teach you the Qigong exercise for the lungs. Now, my master committed me to teaching Qigong all over the world. He said, do not let my family Qigong die. I'm the lineage holder of Blue Dragon Immortal Qigong. And people say, why don't you just give it away? Why don't you just give his family heritage away? They'll appreciate it if you give it away. I'm sorry, I can't do that. Master Lee said, treat people for free, but charge them for teaching. And we had several very strong discussions about it. Him being the master and me being the not humble student, I had to acquiesce to his decision. I will treat you for free with Qigong, but I have to charge you for teaching. So the only way you're going to get the Qigong exercise for stop smoking is to go to loveqigong.com and register. And once you register, you have the ability to join the daily class, or you can go into the archives and access the stop smoking Qigong exercise. So there it is in a nutshell. The breathing, the magnets, the vitamin C, the baking soda, the stop smoking tea. And the last ingredient is the 3-day detox with the Chinese herbs. And then in order to get the Qigong exercise for stop smoking, you got to go to loveqigong.com. Okay, so we have some questions. And Katniss, will you read the question? Or can you read the question? Don't we have some questions from...
I got stabbed in 2010. It deflated my lung. How does that affect my lung? I'm trying to quit smoking cigarettes.
Okay. What I heard you say was, I got stabbed in my lung that deflated my lung. And then I heard you say, I'm trying to quit smoking. These two statements do not relate to each other. You got stabbed in your lung and you're trying to quit smoking. Why are you still smoking if you got stabbed in your lung? I would be doing breathing exercises and going to the ocean to breathe salt air. So the question is, how can I...
I'm trying to quit smoking cigarettes, and I sent him to loveqigong.com.
Yeah, that's the only way I can help you. Unless you're a patient of mine and come to the office, maybe we could do telemedicine
Yeah.
and I could do an online consultation. But if your lung was deflated and you're smoking, that's a very difficult situation to be in, my friend. Um, I would think that you would have no choice but to quit smoking. So in the Blue Dragon tribe, there's no such thing as try, and there's no such word as can't. Can't and try is no longer in our vocabulary. Is that right, Katniss?
That's right.
How often do I remind everybody in the tribe?
Every day.
Every day. Can't and try out of the vocabulary. So if you want to learn how to heal your lungs, which I'm very happy to help you, you got to quit with the trying. Okay?
Dr.Love,
Yes.
would it be also something emotional that this person has to process to move forward?
Is there an emotion associated with the lung? Why, yes, Katniss, there is. Do you remember what that emotion is? We talked about it this morning in class. Grief and attachment to wrong ideas, beliefs, and feelings.
Yeah.
So, grief and attachment are emotions that restrict the full expression of the lungs. So, why did you ask that question? Is there an emotion? What advice would you give?
Well, Qigong definitely has allowed me personally to move past some of these emotions, process them, and physically move into.
So, Qigong has helped you
Yeah.
to move past some of your grief
Yes.
and some of your attachments, some of which were emotional attachments
Yeah.
that don't serve you.
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
correct to say?
Yes.
Okay. And you're thinking that that would help this person.
I think it would definitely help this person because they know that they have compromised lungs and they're still doing that. So there has to be something that needs to be moved.
Okay. Okay. Can you read the next question?
Um, Someone had mentioned that a lot of the people that they work with also struggle with trying to stop smoking cigarettes. So, um,
So while we're waiting for more questions to come in, I'm going to tell you a little story. I started smoking when I was 15 years old because I wanted to look cool. And I went from cigarettes to cigarellos to cigars to pipes. And so all that was to build my self-esteem and make me look cool, because cigarettes wasn't enough to make me look cool. I had to do the mini cigars, and then I had to do the full cigars, and then I switched to the pipe, and I had a collection of 10 pipes. I had meerschaum pipes and woodbriar pipes and corncob pipes. I was just crazy with the smoking. And then 13 years later, at the ripe old age of 28, I was working on Wall Street, and the elevator in my building broke down, and I had to walk up 11 flights of stairs to get to work, 11 flights down for lunch, and then 11 flights back up. So after 3 days, I was like, I couldn't breathe, and I was only 28 years old. So I decided that I was going to go to the high school track and run a quarter of a mile. And I literally passed out and ended up in an ambulance. And that's when I said, I got to change my life. And I wasn't trying to quit smoking. I just wanted to improve my lung power so I wouldn't be so tired walking up and down 11 flights of stairs. Okay, question.
someone asked, where can they find the tea?
There's only one place you can find the tea, and that's to take it out of my hand.
That's Christy Rogers.
Okay, so just send me a private message and I'll tell you how to order the tea. I keep it in stock. This is one thing I do keep. And it's really difficult to find and even more difficult to get, considering China is pretty much shut down these days.
Why do some people who smoke regularly do not develop lung issues over the years?
I am so glad you asked that question, because that's why I was trying to make a connection between 1% who die of lung cancer versus all the millions of people who smoke on a regular basis. So smoking is not the mitigating factor. The mitigating factor is a lack of exercise and a crappy diet, high in starch and high in fat. That and animal fat, to be specific. So we know that if we grill meat, the smoke, the charcoal from the meat is a carcinogen to your lungs. So eating grilled meat, not cool for your lungs. So it's the diet and the lack of exercise that's the mitigating factor, because some people smoke and still ride a bike, smoke and still run, smoke and still roller skate, smoke and still swim. And that is the mitigating factor. Question.
I have a question. Have you mentioned in the past that the lack of oxygen that we receive in our organs causes a problem or causes premature aging? I think you have
I
mentioned
have
that.
mentioned that many times in the past. So there's a process called oxidation, and that's when oxygen escapes from the tissue. It's sort of like rusting for the human body. So as the oxygen escapes, your skin starts to wrinkle. And so that's the aging process. So if we want to reverse the age, we want to hold the oxygen in the tissue. That's called oxygenation, which you never read, you never hear about. You can Google oxygenation. You're not, a whole lot's not going to come up. But what they do talk about is anti-oxidation and antioxidants, which is vitamin A, C, E, and B complex. A, C, E, and B complex. So C is the antioxidant, and C is the main one to reverse the damage of smoking and hold oxygen in the tissue. So I don't want to get all sciencey with a whole lot of technical explanations, but antioxidation is when there's a free radical and it goes around stealing oxygen. So I'm a single, that makes me a free radical. He's a double. So I steal one of his, and then he steals one, and then he steals one, he steals one. And in less than 30 minutes, 300,000 free radical damage, because everybody's trying to steal the oxygen from the other cells. Okay.
And you usually say that we're all going to suffer and we're all going to age.
Okay. Read this
So,
question.
so we should definitely look into how to increase the oxygen.
Well, some people just want to die early, and other people don't. So
I
I
know this is off topic, Dr. Love. Speaking of animal fat, do you do, do you why a Western medicine doctor recommend an animal fat rich diet for someone with insulin resistance?
okay. So there is brain chemistry that suggests that insulin starvation is good for your brain. And it's a controversial topic. Not everybody agrees with it. But those people who think that's right, they believe that animal fat is good for insulin resistance. And the science is 50-50. It's not conclusive. But the ones who believe it are gung-ho in their belief. And the interesting thing is the people who are so sure about something typically are 99% wrong. And the rest of the people like, I don't know for certain. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There's many mitigating factors. There's so many cofactors. I can't say. And that is the wise person. But the person who's convinced that that works, probably not. So it's not off topic. I accept the question. And I can understand why there's some doctors who believe that, but I'm not one of them.
Okay. Any more questions?
Didn't we have questions from another day? From like a couple of days ago that we didn't get to. There was one day we had too many questions. We couldn't fit them all in. And I think one of them had to do with the immune system and how do you test the immune system. And
Yeah, we do.
episode 28, episode 29.
Right there.
Okay.
Can't really see it.
I got to thank my team here. There's no way I could do a podcast by myself. I got a whole team of people here helping out.
Question, Dr. Love. What diet would you recommend for people who suffer from rheumatoid arthritis?
Okay, the rheumatoid arthritis diet would be 50% raw and no heated oils. Whatever oils or fats you use would have to be uncooked. That would be the best diet. So if you're going to eat rice and beans, you can't put oil in them. But you're better off with fruits and salads. That would be the best rheumatoid arthritis diet.
Okay. The next question is, what about sugar? I can't do carrots, but I have an intense sugar craving. What do I do?
Okay, so the best way to offset the sugar craving is chlorophyll. You can buy liquid chlorophyll, or you can eat a lot of leafy green vegetables, or you can buy spirulina, chlorella, dunaliella, any of the blue-green algae, E3 Live, Klamath Lake. So there's so many ways that you can offset your sugar craving. Manganese, zinc, pyridoxine, cinnamon. There's so many ways to offset the sugar craving. But the best way, leafy greens. Eat leafy greens every single day, and that will cut your sugar cravings. Emotionally, you are lacking sweetness in your life. And even if you are married and have a happy sex life, you could still be lacking sweetness in your life. So check that out.
Facebook is off. Just in the queue.
Okay. So thank you all for watching. Thank you to all the listeners. I'm Dr. George Xavier Love for Ask Dr. Love. And don't forget to go to qigong.com. That's QIGONG.com in order to learn how to stop smoking, in order to learn the qigong exercise for stop smoking. Remember, your health is in your hands. Prevention is the only cure. And in order to be well, you've got to chi well. Thank you. See you on Monday.